Alright, let's go ahead and get into some things here. Sethphir, everyone, and I'm here to bring you some perspective from the Fire Staff point of view. I leveled up to 60 as Mage. I played Fire Staff and Ice Gauntlet, respectively. And in this particular topic, we're going to talk about the Fire Staff, its abilities, what I found to be effective at max level while leveling up, and also in 50 versus 50 wars, one-on-one duels, and all that type of stuff. So first and foremost, Fire Staff, as you know, you've probably seen a million guides out there, scales off of intelligence. Everyone knows this. Having intelligence great for the Fire Staff. However, you do want to look at some of the advantages of hitting breakpoints in intelligence. Some of them are very minor, like okay, you get more light and heavy damage, you get more crit. But there is a particular important one, and it's this: plus 10 mana after a dodge. And so this comes at 200 intelligence. It is a very important and crucial mechanic to playing Fire Staff well, or any mage weapon for that example. And here's why. I will cast Fireball and Incinerate, as well as Burnout. And that's my 3 skills, and as you can see, I'm very low on mana. So what happens is, every time I dodge, I get 10 mana. So I'm going to dodge, boom, mana goes up 10. I'm going to dodge again, mana goes up 10, and I'm going to dodge one final time, and I will gain mana once again. So that will allow me to use my abilities. There are a few tips and tricks into doing this that I will probably show in a general video, but if you dodge in general, you can do some weapon swapping mechanics, and you can kind of generate that mana a lot faster, as well as keep your momentum speed while dodging. So once again, I'll cover that in a general PvP video. So since we have this mana mechanic to play around with intelligence, the other abilities just generally help you do more damage to a target at full health, or damage in general over time, yada yada. It's not a big consequence. So the next thing we want to take a look at is the abilities. We'll just look at the basic abilities here. Everyone knows what Pillar of Fire is. It's a basic Flame Strike move. It's very similar to this ice one here I have here, except for this circle is much smaller. So it's a skill shot. You know, you have to kind of aim it right, but it does do a significant amount of damage. What people are not aware of is that Pillar of Fire actually hits 2 times if you hit them with the outer edge of the circle. So what do I mean by that? If this is the Pillar of Fire and the tree is the enemy, if you hit them dead in the center, you will hit them 1 time. If you hit them off to the side like this and the area is still covering the tree, they will get hit 2 times. So it doesn't state this on the skill, which it definitely should, so developers, please look into fixing that. But it will hit twice, so that makes Pillar of Fire a lot better move. The next move we have is Meteor Shower. I do not like this one personally. The only reason is that from where my Ice Pylon is to where I am is like the max range of Meteor Shower. So you really cannot be far at all. That's about 10 meters maybe, something like that. And what tends to happen is, you know, you're sitting here channeling your Firestorm like Gandalf or something, and everyone just comes and beats on you. And there is grit to the meteor. However, I don't know if standing still in the middle of a war and channeling some AoE spell is the way to go. I think there's much better options for the mage. So going back to that, you have your first staple, and in my opinion, the best move in the fire tree, which is Fireball. It just throws a lobbed, it's got weight to it. For example, like when you throw this, you see you have to arc it a bit and it will go quite far. So if I were to tilt my camera angle all the way up, I could lob it quite some distance. So just keep in mind that there is a drop off for it. It does damage in an area when it lands. It does damage for direct hit impact, but the direct hit and the area damage do not double up. So like if you hit somebody directly with the fireball, they are going to take that damage, and that's it. Now the area around the fireball is important because when it lands, it will burn for weapon damage, and the weapon damage does a lot. So if you get the second talent, you're going to get 9 seconds on it, which is going to allow that burning field to tick for 10% weapon damage each second. which, as you can imagine, is like hitting them a second time. That's a whole 100% weapon damage if they stay in the fire. Now, no one enemy is probably going to land and stay in that fire for the full 10 seconds. However, what happens in wars is you throw it into an area, you hit a lot of people, and generally those tanks tend to reside in that same area because they're trying to push a choke or a flag, and so they will end up taking burn damage. New people will enter, it'll just kind of scale. So it does really well. It's a very nice move. The next move that we have, and one of my personal favorites, is Incinerate. So what this does is it puts a ring of fire around you like this, and you will push people back that are in that ring. They will take damage, and they will also be caught on fire. Some of the talents for this one include the ability to heal from that damage. It hits a second time, it lasts longer and puts more burning on them. So all in all, this is a great one to have, and this flows into a dive mage build, which is the one that I'm currently running. It's essentially a tanky mage heavy dive build. I know a lot of people in my guild, like Stephen Ray G, and some other people, are also running this similar build. There is definitely more than one style to play. I would say that playing with Pillar of Fire is acceptable too as a ranged damage dealer. I know Flip Fire from my guild was able to dish out quite a lot of damage as well in the last war with that one. But Incinerate does seem to be best for getting kills, like finishing the job, executing people. So that is one good thing to keep in mind. The other skill is Flamethrower. You can read the tooltip and everything, but essentially you just channel some sort of a spell in front of you and you blow like fire out, and you seem to kind of move a little bit slower while you're doing that. It's interruptible, so if you get hit with pretty much anything, it's going to cancel that flamethrower and you're going to have to start it again. So I didn't like this one, the feel of it. Maybe in a situation where you have a lot of tanks in front of you and you can just flamethrower behind them and just shoot freely, it might be good, but generally I don't think it's like a playmaker move. It's not something that's good for one-on-one. Yeah, so we can probably discount this one for the most part. It could be interesting in a PvE build, but it does drain your mana quite heavily, so at some point you're going to have to stop doing the flamethrower and use your dodge to get that mana back or generate it from some other way. The last move is called Burnout, and the final talent gives it 50% further distance. It also lowers your cooldowns when you talent for it whenever you charge through something, but this is a really good ability. As you can see, the distance I get from this is quite big, so I'm able to get about 30 meters away from something, and I can charge directly through people, which will deal damage to them, burn them over time, and lower your cooldowns. The one thing I would keep in mind with Burnout is whenever someone is guarding, and like they're especially like tanks with a shield, when they're guarding, they will block you from doing Burnout. So like if this guy was shielding, I would crash into him and stop exactly where he was. So do keep that in mind. Don't burn out into shield targets or people that are blocking, because you will get stopped and it's not the best. So all in all, those are kind of the broad overall scopes of the fire build, and this may change over time since it is beta right now. There's tons of talents that give you mana options, damage options, crit options. The only other two mechanics per se in the fire tree that you may have to play around would be one, the final talent called Runes of Helios, which would create a rune similar to like WoW. The mages make that little spell circle and they have to stand in it to get more damage. It does that for you. So as you can see that rune right here on me, whenever I'm standing in this, I'll get 30% more damage. It also increases your auto attack damage. So that does mean light attacks and heavy attacks will be added to that. So the other thing with Rune of Helios too is when you do Burnout, if this were on cooldown, the rune would spawn where you land. So luckily that was good, so great job for developers. It would be a damn shame if you use Burnout and it spawned the rune here and you ended up 30 feet forward and unable to get to it. So that would be quite unfortunate. In terms of fire builds, I did touch recently before on the types of fire mage that you can go, And I think it does boil down to a dive fire mage and a ranged caster fire mage. So if you're ranged caster, you would want Pillar Fire and Fireball and the talents that go with that. And I would keep Burnout as your third option because one thing that I saw is not having some sort of mobility or defensive option and having 3 pure damage skills does not tend to do well in any 1v1 situation and definitely not in any like war situation because once people get up on you, you're going to want to get away, trust me. Some of those axe users hurt real hard. So that would be the ranged build, and then the dive build would be exactly what I have here on screen. This would utilize burnouts, fireball, and incinerate, and the idea behind that would be to burn out into the enemy backline, you get the spawn on the Rune of Helios, you fireball, and then you incinerate right on top of them. And that can be coupled with the Ice Gauntlet, which we'll touch on a different video, but there's tons of options with this one, including, you know, your classic mage ability from every game, Ice Block. Gotta love it. So this one's a fantastic one too. All right, hopefully that's gonna help a lot of people. I will say that as a final note, when you are leveling early, and especially especially those early levels, you do want to take this ability that gives you heavy attacks restoring your mana, and if you can get down to this heavy attacks no longer consume mana, you will find yourself in a much better position to be using the Fire Staff, because what does happen early before you get that dodge giving you mana back talent is that you will just oom and not even be able to attack at all. So just a small thing to keep in mind, but overall the Fire Staff has amazing damage. Often in PvP, Fire Mages are the top damage dealers just from the pure AoE ability in the 50 versus 50. I think that Great Axe and some of those other skill trees are probably better in a 1v1 or small skirmish situation, but that also depends on the player. It depends on the combo with the skill and you know, all those little factors that go into that sort of thing. But all right, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped anybody who's looking to be an avid Fire Staff user. See you in the next video.